Now, if there's one thing the team owe us this season, it's a half-decent performance at home, and it has to be this weekend. Surely, Wolves, the visitors, on Saturday afternoon. You mentioned the Arsenal performance earlier, Glenn, and I was thinking back, we had that vaguely positive performance, didn't we, at Arsenal back towards the start of the season, and we were able to follow that up, actually, I think, with the point. I'm sure it might have been the Brighton game, maybe. Do you think we'll be able to do the same this weekend? Do you think we can follow it up?
History would suggest not. but I mean,
this is a new side. This is a manager that's abandoned his principles.
Well, maybe. Well, let's see, shall we? One swallow does not make a summer and all that. And I'm not sure that was even a swallow that I saw against Liverpool. But if the Derby record and not being the worst Premier League team of all time is important to anybody, then we 100% have to treat this as our cup final for the season and go for it. We're playing a team who are not very good, and their best player, the only player who raises them above the three teams that are going to go down, is not playing. So we absolutely have to take advantage of this. If only to prolong. I mean, I guess it prolongs the agony if we win. If we lose this one, I mean, Wolves are the only team that anyone can feasibly catch who are not in the bottom three.
I mean, they're in a mini league of their own, which is extraordinary.
Yeah.
They're 6 points above Ipswich and Leicester,
10 points
behind West Ham.
Yep.
Who played? I mean, and that could be 13 tomorrow.
Are they going to stay up with less than 30 points?
Oh, they could.
I mean, they could definitely. Yeah, they don't need 30 to stay up. That's for sure.
But the point is that if we get beaten by them, then relegation and mathematical relegation is going to come around pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And then we're going to be looking at dead rubber games for the last 8 games or something like that. And so, we have to treat this as our cup final, as pathetic as that sounds. You know, they've stayed out of it. They had new manager bounce when they got rid of Gary O'Neill, and they won a few games, and that has kind of kept them out of the out of the bottom three, along with the total inadequacy of the 3 promoted sides. So I mean, I work with a load of Bournemouth fans, and they actually lost at home to Wolves because they had a player sent off, basically. And one of the lads was saying Wolves they thought Wolves were worse than us. They were terrible in that game, but they managed to they managed to win it. Just because just fortunate because of the red card and whatnot. So I mean, I look at Wolves' team. They've got some half decent players. Aït-Nouri at left back, he's horrible. He dives everywhere. The whole Wolves team dives everywhere. So you're hoping the referee keeps on top of it.
How many injuries do we reckon Jose Sarr will have?
Oh yeah,
6, 7 maybe.
The dark arts.
It's just a horrible team to play against because they're at it from the first whistle. So I mean, I think we have to maintain our physicality all game and make sure we're kind of in their faces. I think fans, this is a game where the fans can play a big part. Making noise to try and influence referees when they're, when Wolves are diving about. I mean, this is as close to a game of any importance that we have between now and the end of the season. So
that and Leicester, I think.
Yeah, I just hope that he goes into it. That he sticks to a back 4, no man-to-man rubbish. I strongly believe you actually have to pick a striker. If we rock up 4-6-0 again, I'll just think I'll cry. I'll go home or something.
Or both.
We have to have a plan to score a bloody goal. Otherwise, we're not going to win. Have to go into this game to win it. There's just, if we can't win this one, then there's a very, very good chance we're going to finish below Derby's record. So keep the physicality going all game. They got a centre forward. I actually quite like him, Strand Larsen. He's a bit of a throwback. He's what we think Onuachu should be. Yeah, he's a bit of an extremely pound shop Haaland type of player, but he's not. He's not bad, and he would probably do a good job in our team. So it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for Bella Kotchap to be playing against him. But I'm sure that whoever we play at centre back will be able to deal with it. Oh, we got to have a word about Mario Lemina, haven't we? Because
is he?
No, he's gone. No, he's gone altogether. It's a player that I always laugh at the memory of him because he was. I just hated him. I hated him right from the first minute. Hated him, and he got made captain by Gary O'Neill at the start of this season, didn't he?
That was weird, wasn't it? Really weird.
New manager comes in, and the first thing he does is like, "Well, you're not captain anymore, and you're going to go in January. See you later."
And then he starts scrapping with everybody else, didn't he? He was teammates.
I know. Just a horrible example of an entitled modern day footballer who thinks he's better than he is. And that's one thing Wolves have got right this season is getting rid of him eventually.
Well, that's something in common when we're chatting to Wolves fans in the pub before the game. Then we can bring that up. Alfie, if I look back at the Molineux game, it was 2-0, wasn't it? And was that Manning's disallowed goal? Was that?
Yeah, it was a true robbery.
Yeah, I knew there was a bad feeling about that one. But aside from that, I mean, as Glenn said, they beat Bournemouth, they beat Villa, but then it's just been a bit hit and miss.
Yeah, I mean, that was the biggest, the worst one of the season, but that was also at a time when we kept on getting done by VAR. It feels like VAR has not really been a talking point until now, sort of since Russell Martin went. I mean, Glenn makes the ultimate point about Wolves is that they haven't got Matheus Cunha, and he is their sole best player. Without doubt, he's the one that could move to someone like Arsenal in the summer. A world-class player.
Would they want him with his attitude, though? The way he keeps getting sent off and his emotional state, it's... I mean, you put him into the pressure atmosphere of a top club that's expected to win stuff, and I don't see how he fits that because he's a lunatic.
Well, I think true. But there's about 10 top clubs trying to buy a striker this summer, and there aren't many strikers out there. So I think someone's going to take a punt on him. Maybe Ivan Toney will come back from the Saudi League or something like that. But he is a good player. Didn't he score a ridiculous goal in the game at Molineux as well?
Yeah,
wasn't his out of the area,
which was also a foul.
Oh yeah, on Cameron Archer in the building.
Twice.
Hernandez. Yeah. I mean, that was. Do you know what? Actually, interestingly, sort of harking back to Liverpool game this weekend a little bit, but I was having a conversation with George on the way back from Anfield, and just sort of got onto the game of me recounting sort of every single game we played this season from day one and sort of where we are now. And I was able to accurately say every single game and pretty much the score of every single game under Russell Martin and the first few of Ivan Juric with ease. Then after about 3 or 4 games of Ivan Juric, I couldn't tell you a single match that's happened. I could tell you the opponents we played, but I couldn't tell you what
it was 4-0 probably.
Well, that's right. Yeah, 3-1 or 4-0, one or two. But the point being that those sort of last 8 games under Ivan Juric have just become absolute sludge, like just grey sludge, and nothing's changed. There's no narratives. Everyone hates every player. We're going down. At least back then when it was Wolves, I cared. Do you know what I mean? I still obviously care as part of my job, but so it's nice to have this one, which is maybe in some ways important. And like Glenn says, if they can get 3 points here, then we can sort of write the season off as done. Everyone's happy, almost, and then we're all good.
I'll tell you what, it's fun being in the car with you and George, isn't it?
Yeah. So not a particularly exciting game, but it's 8 hours round trip, so you get a bit desperate.
Long journey back. Steve, I guess Bella Kotchap might be on standby for this one if Bednarek's not okay. This 6-day rule, does that mean they can't train for 6 days or can't play?
Yeah, I would assume so. Yeah. It's interesting the different protocols that different sports utilise for concussion, and it was interesting that we actually used a concussion sub on Saturday because the knock-on effect of that meant that Liverpool were then allowed to bring on 6 subs themselves. Yeah. So what teams were doing when this rule first came in 2 or 3 years ago was they basically weren't. They weren't, even when a player clearly went off with a head injury, they weren't using it as a concussion sub unless they'd already made all their allotted substitutions. Teams didn't want to give up an additional sub to the opposition for fear of it basically being able to actually use it in a calm and sort of meticulous way and use it to hurt them. And actually, kind of Liverpool did. I don't know whether Slot would have still made a triple sub if he only had 5 substitutions available to him rather than 6. So yeah, it just kind of, didn't have any impact on anything, but I would be surprised if he's available for Saturday, given the way the protocol works. And
Ivan Juric said he thinks he will be, so I think he will. If it's 6 days, he'll play him. He's his captain.
He'll want to play, won't he?
Yeah, he'll play.
But every player would want to play, but ultimately
No.
you've got to.
No, I don't think that's true. I think the only reason he wouldn't
possibly.
play is if he doesn't want to play. I think if he says he doesn't want to play, he won't. But if he can play, which Ivan Juric says is 6 days, then Ivan Juric will play him. I'm sure of that. It'll be Bednar's choice if he doesn't.
Yeah, I kind of think sometimes in these circumstances, players need to be saved from themselves. If he has any sort of actual sort of concussion symptoms, then you shouldn't, from a player welfare perspective, you shouldn't be taking a risk on this. I mean, kind of effective cup final or no cup final shouldn't really come into it. Is the player fit to play? Is it safe for him to go out there and possibly get bashed on the head again?
I just want to read out an email that we had in, and I want you to bear this in mind when we're reluctantly heading towards St Mary's at the weekend. This is from Morris, who says, I'm an American fan of Southampton. Your podcast is one of the ways I follow the club, so I just wanted to say a big thank you. Going to be making my first visit to Southampton and my first visit to England, for that matter, on March the 15th for the game against Wolves. It's been a rough season. There's an understatement. But I'm still excited to finally see the team in person. I started rooting for Southampton back in 2011. At the time, I wanted to adopt a club to root for to help me learn more about football. Growing up as a typical American, I experienced football on a recreational youth level, but it was otherwise ignorant about the sport. Being a sports fan in general, I decided to develop an appreciation for football, and I chose Southampton as the team to root for along the way. I think we're all shouting the same things, Morris. We're all shouting the same things. We didn't have a choice. It's only taken me 14 years to make it there in person. Again, I just want to say thank you for helping me have a connection to the club from very far away. Morris, I hope for your sake that they put in a shift on Saturday and you enjoy your first visit to England, your first time at St Mary's, first time watching it. I mean, what a season to make the journey. But will Morris have anything to cheer? Let's do a few score predictions for this. I mean, last time we had the Arsenal game, we kind of followed up with a 1-1. So I was thinking maybe a 1-1. I think maybe a point. Steve, do you want to go first?
Yeah, that was exactly the way I was heading as well. Okay. I think as much as Cunha being out is a huge bonus for us. I mean, Wolves do have some other threats, and we are still crap at the back. So I still think a clean sheet is out of the question. But we should be able to test them a little bit more. I think Juric's system will. I mean, assuming we kind of play. I mean, in a sort of defensive structure in a similar way that we did on Saturday, but with a little bit more attacking impetus as the home team. I think against a side only 3 places above us, I think you've got to be. But I think in that sort of system, you can't. In fact, you kind of look back to that West Ham game on Boxing Day. Look back at the way we played that game. That's the way we should be playing Wolves, I think, because defensively they struggle with crosses into the box. They've conceded silly number of goals from set pieces over the last 2 years. So they're obviously not particularly well organised defensively. Somehow we let them have a clean sheet without a shot on target up at Molineux. So yeah, that for me is the way to go about trying to beat these guys. I think we can beat them. But it depends on getting that team selection right. And I think for the last 2 or 3 months, probably. I think we look at the team sheet at quarter 2, and you're looking at it and think, why has he done that? And there's always one selection that looks completely rogue, and it's why I've fallen down off the pace on the club app on the team predictor game. But yeah, there's always one or two that's a little bit rogue. I just want him to pick play our most comfortable system and pick our best players for it. Just a simple ask, just for this week. Just try it out, see what happens. Maverick concept, I know, but
you can always go back to form if it doesn't work. But give it a go.
Well, quite. And yeah, so I think, I think if we do that, we've got a decent chance, I think. But yeah, I mean, there's always that lingering thing of getting done on the break because they're pretty quick in transition. They've got 2 or 3 players who are quite nimble on that side of things. Glen mentioned Ait-Nouri. earlier, he's a problem. But up against Walker Peters, hopefully Walker Peters can kind of nullify him and leave
Yeah, but the problem with that is that it's not just Amo-Ameyaw, is it? Because obviously he plays as a left wing back, so you've still got that that Bellegarde to deal with. So you'd imagine that Bellegarde will be, if he plays, will be whoever's there will be Carl Walker Peters as a man. So Ait-Nouri is kind of a free man in that role. And does that mean that Tyler Dibling's constantly pinned back, or so that is one of the key areas to watch.
Yeah,
so I put you down for a 1-1, am I, Steve?
Yeah, 1-1, I think.
Okay, Glenn.
It worries me how Jurek is going to send a team out to try and win a game. It genuinely worries me. If he picks a striker, then obviously there's going to be one less midfielder. He's going to pick Will Smallbone again, and it worries me that in a home game, I just feel that the team will be too strung out if we're not, and we won't be as compact. I can see problems with him trying to win a game at home. So I'm not overly optimistic. If he goes, oddly enough, if he goes for this 4-6-0 thing and plays the same team that he played, I think the game will be absolutely god awful. But we've probably
might get a 0-0 out of it.
Probably got some sort of chance of getting something out of it. Yeah, it does. Yeah, I'm not contradicting what I said earlier there. I think you have to go into games with a striker, but I think if he does, and he picks the players that we suspect he's going to pick, that will have problems. I mean, I would just love it if they're going to play two midfielders and four sort of attack-minded players, including the wingers. I think you've got to have Leslie Ugochukwu and Flynn Downs, or if not Flynn Downs, at the very least Joe Aribo in there.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's going to do that. So so it worries me a little bit. I find this one really difficult. 0-0 is a possibility, but that's us keeping a clean sheet, so it's probably not going to happen. 1-0 means us scoring a goal. which I mean, we scored at the weekend, I suppose. So I'll Steve's already nicked 1-1. So what the hell? Based on no logic whatsoever, I'll go for a 1-0 win.
A 1-0 win. This is not looking good for Morris, who's coming over from America, is it? Maybe in the chat we should do like other things you could do on a Saturday afternoon instead. Alfie, score from you.
Yeah, I'll go for the Ivan Juric's favourite result in football, the 0-0 draw.